our microphones aren't working, and we're going to need those for you guys.
Yeah, so we have to wait for the
tech guy.
wonderful tech people, Ray, to
fix this. So, yeah, in the meantime, what we're going to do is we got 2 full hours, okay, which is great.
Yes.
In the meantime, what we're going to do is we just talk again about the process of auditioning for anime, of auditioning for anything else. Also, just ask us any questions you want to know. I don't care. I mean, for those of you who were in my panel yesterday, you can ask me anything you want. Ask Kate. You've got both of us here together, okay? So anything that you want to know about any of the shows that Caitlin's done, any of the shows that I've done, feel free to go ahead and ask, because now is an opportune time to do that. Okay? What are you cosplaying? Grab Spectrum.
from Bach.
Very cool.
So, open up to questions first, or talk a bit and see if that doesn't cover some of the questions.
Well, this guy has a question.
All right.
Let's go with him, and then we can start talking about
anime. Not this morning, I can't. Ask me in a couple hours, and then yes. I sound like Hottie when she first wakes up in the morning. She probably sound something like this. Listen, Senpai, I don't really care whether you think of me as a boy or a girl.
I can do an easy one that's easy on my voice. Yes. I can do Vaughn from Gunsword. If anybody saw that. So this is Vaughn, Vaughn the dog. Bring me my coffee, bitch.
Okay, so what's going to be really neat about this panel is that David and I come from different parts of the country as far as voice acting is concerned. So he may have some different types of insights. Maybe they do things differently in Los Angeles, audition-wise, than they do in Texas. But we can kind of tell you what it's all about as far as what happens when we get a call or a text message or an email saying, can you audition for blah show?
Well, I can tell you one big difference now is we, in Los Angeles, all ride to our audition limos.
Oh.
And you are required to shave your head before you can audition.
Just kidding. Sacrifice.
Pigeon sacrifice.
Right hard. No? Anyone? Okay. It's not the place to try out. You guys are a tough crowd. Okay, so say you're a little actor, you get a call or a text message or an email from some studio or whatever it is, Funimation, Zoom, Studios, something like that. They say, can you come in and audition for fill in the blank show? And you go, yes, yes, I can. So what can you do before your audition to prepare yourself for your audition? Not a whole lot, at least not in my opinion. Especially if you are a working actor with lots of other stuff going on. Maybe they tell you what the show is and you go, I think that is streaming on the internet somewhere. You could go and maybe take a look at it. It might help you, but then you might be like, oh, this is really good, and then you spend the next 13 hours watching the show instead of stopping. Whoops. Okay, but you can do a little bit of research on the show. What is this thing? And sometimes that's a good idea, because maybe it has content in it that you're not okay with. You know, maybe it's a big, crazy, nudie movie show, and you're like, okay. Or something like that. So find out what your show is about. But mainly, what's going to happen is you'll go to the audition, and you'll get a binder. This is at Funimation. And it's full of what are called sides, S-I-D-E-S, sides. Full of all the characters. Maybe not all the ones that the director really needs to hear. We'll have a little picture, a little description of them, and then anywhere from 5 to 10 lines of theirs from the show. And there'll also be a front page that says, here's what the show is. And it'll tell you, like, there's nudity or there's bad language, so if you have problems with these things, don't be in the show. Or don't do this character or that character, or something like that. So you're going to have anywhere from... you're going to have anywhere from 15 to 20 minutes in your audition.
Testing, testing. Turn up just a hair. Good enough. It's good enough for me.
This one's great. Yeah.
Perfect. Applause. Thank you very much.
minutes and you've got this little binder, and you sit out in the lobby, and the director will tell you pick 2 or 3. They'll have some instructions for you. Characters that you would like to play at the audition. And so that's what you do. You choose them, and then you talk to yourself in the lobby, and everyone hears you. That's just kind of how it is. Whatever. And then you'll go in and say hi to the director, and they stick you in a box, and that's pretty much it. You say, hi, I'm Caitlin Glass, and I'm reading for Haruhi Fujioka, and off you go. That's it. And afterwards, they'll give you some notes. Hopefully, you're able to use their notes. Do it again, and you go home.
Ours, I would say that our situation is relatively similar if you're auditioning for production. And this is for anime specifically. It would be very similar with Studiopolis. I know that with Bang Zoom, it's different now. They have embraced the at-home auditions, which is fantastic. Really about, it's LA traffic, okay? I mean, when I first moved, I was in New York City first, and so I literally lived on my mountain bike, riding around Manhattan, going from audition to audition to audition. And in Los Angeles, when I first moved there, it was you're stuck in traffic, going to audition to audition to audition. Now, the way the industry has changed is 80% of my auditions are done from the comfort of my own home, with a simple USB microphone and my Macintosh, and I use GarageBand, which comes with my Mac. If you use a PC, you can use a free software called Audacity, which is fantastic, yeah. With Bang Zoom, it's a little bit different. What they do is they will send the same thing, there's sides, but the casting director will choose what she wants you to audition for. So she will send me an email and say, hey Dave, this is for this series, this is what the pay rate is. If you're interested in auditioning, I always am, audition for this, this character, this character, this character, and then what they'll do, which is very convenient, is they will send in the sides that has a character, picture of the character description, character description, and then the lines, the dialogue. But what's very convenient, what Bang Zoom does, is they will take and send a video clip of the scene from the anime series, obviously in Japanese, but they'll give you that scene, a clip of the scene that you're auditioning for. So you can actually watch the scene, and then there's the script. So you can get a little more context of what's happening when you do your read. So it's very, very convenient that they do that.
That's good because you're at home. If you were in the studio, you could maybe ask a question and get some feedback.
Because you don't have the director there. And honestly, that's one thing. If you get into voice acting, and this is just on a side, if you get into voice acting, I cannot recommend enough to take voice acting classes, because I've been at this for 17 years. Okay, I've been doing anime for about 8 years, and in 17 years that I've been doing voiceover professionally, I have worked with countless casting directors and had that direct feedback on all of my auditions. While I'm there, while I was riding my bike all around Manhattan, while I was stuck in traffic or casting offices, when you audition, you get direct feedback from that casting director. And that's really what I love what Bang Zoom does, they give you that, but then if Bang Zoom likes your read, then they invite you into the studio to audition again, like a callback, which is what they do. But for those of you who are interested in starting out in voice acting, the advantage with the technology is that you can audition from the comfort of your home in your underwear, okay? But you're not going to get that direct feedback from the casting director. So I really recommend taking voice acting lessons and voice acting classes, which conveniently I teach. So if you're interested, you can contact me at on Facebook, David Vincent, VA for voice actor. Just look that up. So now that I've taken voice acting lessons.
Just in the last week or so, I've had some actor friends of mine in Dallas that I do theater with have the opportunity to audition at Funimation. Having never done anything like that before, they're calling me or messaging me going, oh my god, what do I do? I'm going to do a good job, blah, blah, blah. So I have to give them some tips. Mostly, I prepared them, like I just did to you, because they've never had that experience. What's it going to be like when I walk in? And they both gave me some feedback afterwards. But thank you so much for telling me all that. I feel like I've had a good handle on the situation. I wasn't surprised by anything. So I'm really telling you guys the truth. This is what an audition is like. Another trick is knowing if you only have 15 or 20 minutes, that you have a book full of 15 characters, and half of them you can play because they are men or they are women. For girls, sometimes there are more because there are boys that you can play. So how do you choose? Which characters do you choose to read if you only have so much time? Because you don't really have a full 15 minutes, because granted, they're probably going to be running late, so you're going to have more like 10 minutes. So I always say, when you open the book, you look through them real quick and read everybody, because you could go in and do your 3 characters, and the director wants to hear you on somebody else. So just be sure that you're prepared to read for absolutely anyone. And I say choose the one that you absolutely know is the most like you. Because in anime, there are definitely times where you need to do crazy things with your voice, like Saturday morning cartoon type crazy. But a lot of the time, the heroes and the heroines, they need to sound like normal people. Because the world that they inhabit is so fantastic. If you were in my panel yesterday, you heard me say this. Their circumstances are so extreme, as is their appearance and everything about them, that if they sounded ridiculous, you as an audience member wouldn't connect with them and relate to them at all. So I always pick one character that sounds the most like me, and then another that I want to, I don't know, just another one that I really like a lot. And then something that I think that the director's never heard me do before, which you may not know if you're a brand new actor, but if you've been doing it a lot, we find, probably David knows, you get typecast. They go, oh, well, he plays these tall, scary guys, so they just, anytime there's a new tall, scary character, they just think of David and that's it, and they assume that that's all that he can do. And it's great for the paycheck, but like creatively you get kind of bored. So what's wonderful about an audition situation is it's your opportunity to show them, I can do other things. And so then do that. And also, if you can't choose 3, if you're like, I really don't know, I kind of only like these 2, go in and ask the director, who have you not heard yet? Because, seriously, I know this from being a director. Everybody, all the actors want to play the main characters because all they're thinking of is like the money and like they'll be more famous at conventions or something if they're all Edward Elric. Well, not everyone can be Edward Elric, right? So as a director, I'm sitting there going, God, if I have to hear one more person read for Edward Elric, I'm going to kill myself. So I always go in and I'll pick 2 and then I'll say, is there anybody else you want to hear me do? Or what haven't you heard yet today? Or what haven't you heard a lot of today? And they go, oh, thank you. And then they want to hear what I'm about to give them. I mean, I could really suck at whatever that is, but they'll be excited to hear it because they haven't heard it yet. So that's my trick.
Such a huge advantage for you also in being a director is one of the advantages of actually directing, and some actors also will direct, but one of the huge advantages that you have as a director is you get to see both sides of the coin, because she's an actress and also a director. And that's really, really good insight that you can give as far as what you just said about auditioning for characters. Who haven't you heard? Asking your director, who haven't you heard, that's amazing advice. Because then you're going to automatically pique your director's interest and wake them up from hearing the same thing over and over again. And as an actor, you have to stand out. So doing something like that is super smart.
So, we're still waiting on things from the printer. How about y'all ask us some questions?
Yeah,
because the actual audition part of it won't take very long, really.
No. All right, you, sir.
You mentioned that in the sides, there'll usually be like 3 to 10 lines or something like that. Is there usually a connection between how many lines are in there with how much the character is going to appear in the series, or is that just kind of a you never?
No, because even if the character only has like 1 major episode, maybe that's the only time they ever appear, but they're that important enough for the director to put them in the audition sides because they're a pivotal character. So, no, there will usually, if there are only 4 lines, it could just be that they don't talk a lot, or they don't say things that are very long, right? Sometimes, if a show is all about maybe, let's say, fighting, like a big action show, you have to have the ability to make all these fighting sounds, too, which guys are pretty good at, because from like just play fighting with your friends growing up. But for girls, it's a thing you have to learn, unless you maybe did martial arts or something like that growing up. So they'll often put a list of like reactions that they want to hear you make. Or they'll, at the end, they'll be like, we need a big power-up scream. I'm like, seriously? Yeah. But if they know you, they won't make you do that. But if you're brand new and they've never seen you before, they absolutely will. Because some people, you can scream your brains out at a concert or like a football game or something like that. But when you get in the booth with this microphone and you're like, right? So you have to be prepared to do that stuff too.
Orange vest chandelier attack! Thank you. Honestly, you have to say the most random stuff, but you have to be able to do the attack sounds. And that's a big part of what I call the nonverbal voice acting. And that is the right? Which is a really, really big part of it.
And if you're an anime heroine, it's this noise.
Or this is what we call this. I don't know if you call it what you call it at Funimation, but in LA we call this the standard 102. And I know what you guys. I know that all of you have heard this before, but it is. Which is pretty much the dude of nonverbal voice acting. I mean, it can mean anything. Like dude can mean like, hey, hi, dude. Dude can mean you're gross, dude. Right? Standard 102 can mean anything. Dude, 102 can be hi. You know, you're gross. Nonverbal voice acting.
Super important. Sometimes at an audition, you may be asked to sing. How many of you have seen an anime where the character also is a singer? Because why not? Like every other anime, right? So later today, actually, I'm doing a panel about music in anime and dubbing music for anime. But don't want to talk about that quite yet. But still, in the audition sides, it may say, you know, here's this character, la 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 about her, and then underneath it, character sings. So you could go in and they'll just ask you to sing something, anything, maybe I don't know, Somewhere Over the Rainbow or something like that, or Star Spangled Banner, whatever, just so they can hear you sing that. So you have to be prepared for that too. Other questions? Surely you all have questions.
Yeah.
Are we all going to get a chance to try out? I don't know about all of you.
Quite a few of you, but as many as we can. Absolutely. Yes.
How about the singing? Like, will it say a lot of times that a dancer that sings badly, like God feels the fairy tale? Or will it say that you have to sing badly as opposed to well?
Not in an audition. I mean, if the character sings badly, it doesn't really matter who you get in it. But if they sing, you know, like this character is a pop singer, and you're going to sing 3 full pop songs throughout the course of the show, you have to be able to sing. Yeah, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Ever consider doing like an anime that you have not been in that's not overly popular, but is still really good?
Yeah, I've done lots of stuff that's not popular. Tons of it. I guess was the question, have I done anything that's not popular? Or would I consider doing something that's not popular because I think it's good?
I mean, like something that's like already dubbed that you're like, oh yeah, that would be a really good one. I really want to be doing that too.
After it's already done?
Yeah.
Well, sure. Yeah, I mean, there's lots of shows that every show I would want to be in. Yeah. But no, I mean, as far as like any artistic type of stuff or just anything that I've done that isn't necessarily popular, I've done lots of stuff that's not necessarily popular. You know what? One of my favorite animes that I've done is one called Gun X Sword. And it's a good show, a really good show. And just nobody saw it. You know, it just did not get that wide of a release. Yeah. It used to be on Netflix, and now it's not on anymore.
I think it's still there actually.
It's still there?
I think so. I just recently saw it.
Oh, well, I recommend it if you get a chance to watch that. But that's a series that is near and dear to my heart. Yeah, unfortunately wasn't as popular as I thought it should be.
If not, try Hulu.
If not, try Hulu. There you go. So now you guys have no excuse. Go and watch it. Yeah, go ahead.
When you're auditioning, well, not when you're auditioning, but when you get the role and you're in there and you're going to the booth to record, sometimes a voice actor who's also working on it will come in and record their lines before you. Would you prefer
Oh, it's always helpful if you can hear your other actor deliver their lines if you're having a dialogue with them. I did a show called Fate Zero, and I had a lot of scenes with Crispin Freeman. And so one of my favorite things to do, because my character just tortured Crispin Freeman, and so it was a lot of fun for me to be able to actually react off of him as I was torturing him. So yeah, it's always preferable to me, although not all the time. It's 6 one way, half dozen the other. Sometimes you're the first voice actor going into that scene, and then sometimes, yeah, you're lucky enough that your co-actor or co-star, or whatever you want to call it, has already laid down their lines for that scene. And then sometimes you go to a certain point and they're there and then they're not. They didn't finish. They haven't recorded that far yet. Go ahead.
So you've obviously reached a point in your career where people are calling you. What resources would you suggest to a beginner? How do you get that first audition?
Here is honestly, and I'm going to go back to the advantage that you guys have now that I didn't have when I started. I got my start in New York City. After I graduated from college, I moved to New York City and I was doing stand-up comedy and sketch comedy. And I was doing a show in Manhattan. Lady saw me there. She was a voice agent, gave me her card. That's how I got my start. I did not have access to the opportunities that you guys all have now, which is awesome. I had to have an agent. I had to move to New York. I couldn't go and audition from my house. I had to live in that city. Now you guys have an opportunity as beginners. I'm going to give you a couple of websites. And for those of you who were in my panel yesterday, I played you my demo reel. What you're going to need is a demo reel, which you can do from your computer. I have a USB microphone. I use the Snowball, the blue Snowball microphone. Cheap, but I have booked a ton of work from it. And I use my Macintosh. And I already gave you the free software, Audacity. But you can go to a couple of websites just to kind of get your chops going. These are subscription websites, so there's a fee involved. One is voices.com. Another one is voice123.com. There is voicebank.net. That you can go and listen to demo reels of professional working voice actors so that you can mimic what they're doing.
Hold on. Is Mike still in here? Mike? Okay. Some of these are missing, and I know that we printed them. But you've got stuff too, so it's probably plenty.
I think we'll cover it. But at any rate, you can go to those websites, create a profile for yourself, and start auditioning for stuff. And if you're going to go to one or the other, I would recommend Voice123 as a beginner, because they have a lot of smaller projects that pay less. But the competition is stiff, man. Really stiff. But there's a lot more smaller projects that gives you a lot more opportunities to actually jump in and get your feet wet. Another thing that I'm going to tell you guys is I highly recommend, if you're really interested in being a voice actor, really be open to the idea of doing commercials. I can't tell you what a large portion of my income comes from commercials, okay? Again, I'm the guy going, Kmart, lowest sale prices every time. Bald guy selling haircuts on the radio for Fantastic Sam's, okay? Like I said yesterday, Grimjow is selling you haircuts, okay? So it's a huge part of income as a voice actor. Be open to doing that. And that's why I recommend also taking voice acting classes, okay? And with those websites that I just mentioned, they're going to have a lot of opportunities for those types of voice acting jobs, okay? So you can't just be picking, choosing, and only want to just do one little niche, because you won't make any money, or at least enough to support yourself. Okay, we got 3 hands up. You first, then you, then you. Go ahead. So, damn, that's good! Yeah. No, that's, I honestly do. I'm a huge Tabasco fan. So I put Tabasco and hot sauce on everything. Not necessarily the mustard and mayo the way that Vaughn does. Vaughn, the character, puts every condiment on steaks. Not good. Yeah.
You're supposed to taste the steak.
Yeah, exactly. You were next. What I'm going to recommend that you do is just Google. You're in Minneapolis, right? So Minneapolis is a pretty big city. Google it and find acting classes in your local city. I've been trying to do this, and I've done it and had really wonderful results in the past where I have done kind of a road show. We did it in Seattle a little while back, and it was a huge success and a lot of fun. But I bring a voice casting director with me, and I bring a voiceover agent with me, and we do a workshop. Keep your eyes peeled for stuff like that, and just Google local voiceover classes, voiceover work. But I recommend doing that and take acting classes as well.
Be wary though of classes that are like, take this class for a week and then at the end we'll make a demo for you, and they charge you like ridiculous amounts of money, and they're just going to produce the demo of yours and the other students there with you in the course of the week. You're going to get something that is not well produced. And if it doesn't sound like something that is professionally made, someone listening to your demo will turn it off right away.
Yeah, there's a website. Sorry, no, that's sage advice. There's a website called voicebank.net. And voicebank.net literally has thousands of voice actors' demo reels, okay, that are represented from agents in LA, Chicago, New York, Dallas, all the major cities. Go there and you can listen to animation demos, you can listen to commercial demos, you can listen to your heart's content, to thousands and thousands of demos. You can make your own demo and probably produce it better than some of these clowns that Caitlin was just mentioning. So do beware of that, and do beware of any acting classes where you have to get your headshots from their photographer, you know, or do they guarantee you some stuff? You don't want it.
Or any agency that requires you to pay them first or spend some amount of money to be signed on with their, to be talent with them.
Yeah.
That's not how it works. They make you money, not the other way around.
Agents get paid only when you get paid.
So there.
Yeah. Yeah. Go ahead.
And it's hopefully for you.
Okay.
But the first question I have is, since we're just going to be starting out, would it be a bad idea to use guys like you as references? Just have pretty much set the bar quite high.
Well, how would you use this as a reference?
Well, it's like a job thing, and you tell how you got into this and all that, would it set the bar too high? Or?
I think if you actually took like a real class, I wouldn't consider this a course in any way. This is just kind of like informational and fun. But if you went to David's workshop, you know, his little road show, then on your resume or something where it would say training, you would list that thing that you took and that you were trained by him and mention that agent and the whatever.
Yeah.
But if you just met us or you got our autograph or something, you couldn't say to somebody in intervention, oh yeah, I know Caitlin Glass. It's like, you know who I am and you met me once, but it's not the same thing. So be very, very careful, because in this business it really is about who you know, but you have to actually know them. You know, because it wouldn't be the same. You probably know from in Hollywood, you can end up at some party and some totally famous person comes in and you want you to talk to them for 5 minutes and have a drink, but that doesn't mean that the next time you're at an audition, you can be like, yeah, me and Steve Buscemi go way back to that party last week, you know, or whoever. So.
And my second question, I know you said something about the voice acting and somehow 12 or so, but would it be possible for either of you to do a audio pony?
No, I don't play a pony. I'm so awful. Like, I'm going to crush your dreams. No.
I would love to do it for you. I've never seen My Little Pony. I know it's super, super popular right now, but I have not seen it. So I couldn't even pretend.
Yeah.
I would pretend
It's
poorly.
fine. You guys would be better at it than us.
Yeah.
I'm a pony.
How was that?
Yes. That's it. You're
Genius!
hired. You're hired. Move to Canada. You start tomorrow. Okay. Another question.
Do you consider moving any of your courses that you're going to do on the road shows? Something that would be backstage or some sort of online?
You know, I would. I tried to do a, there's a school that I had taught with, I tried to do what was it, the online go-to-meeting type of a thing where it's, you know what I'm talking about? What I didn't like about it is that it was very uninteractive. Instead, it was basically I had like 25 people from across the country that sat there and watched my talking head lecturing them. That's not the way that I teach voice acting. I teach voice acting by getting you on the microphone and working with you. That's what that's how I teach. So that, I mean, any online stuff that I do, it's one-on-one via Skype. Because I need to be able to interact. I've got to see you read so that I can give you the feedback. I've got to hear you read. And so if there's a platform, and you can tell me if there is, where I can have immediate feedback from multiple people at the same time, and we can have a dialogue, an open dialogue, then absolutely I'd love to do that. More hands.
That's a great question. It's hard to.
The standard Midwestern American accent
Yeah.
is the one that they want to hear, just the way that you and I speak. I will say, for me, and this isn't necessarily in anime, but for other areas of voiceover that I work, I always get cast as a Southern or a Texan accent.
That's awesome.
Yeah, apparently I could do those accents well. I also just got cast in a children's TV show where I'm talking like a pool.
No joke. An animated show.
An animated show, kids series. Mr. Giggly is his name, and so that's fun. But yeah, accents, typically in anime specifically, they just want the standard American accent.
Which is surprisingly in Texas. You mentioned Texas. Although lots of stuff comes out of Funimation. Well, a lot of Texans live in Dallas, and many of them have accents, and I think it's charming. I really love regional accents from everywhere. I've picked up a little bit of a drawls from living in Texas for 15 years. But when you get in the booth, you have to be able to control it. You have to understand and know your own voice. And know that out on the street you can talk like this and nobody cares. Everyone thinks it's darling. Oh, isn't that precious? Okay. I don't sound like that, but people sound that way in Texas. Okay, like I'll pick on my friend. I'll pick on my friend and a fellow voice actress, and she would agree. Who knows who Tia Ballard is? She's a fabulous voice actress. She plays Happy in Fairy Tale, Little Cat. Tia is from a small town in Texas called Paris, Texas. And she is the most lovely, darling Southern belle of a woman you will ever meet. And but when she first started, I'd be like, Tia, watch that vowel sound. Ooh, and then that vowel sound. And now she's great about it. She can just drop it like it's hot, and just get rid of that in no time. When she first started out, it was rough going. Because these shows, like you mentioned, they don't take place in Texas. Well, okay, some might, but usually they don't. They take place in outer space or in Japan. So if you're listening and everybody sounds the same, just the standard American accent, and then someone walks in and they sound like this, well, unless there's a reason for them to sound like this, that's just going to take you straight out the show. And you'll be like, who is that voice actor? You know? Yeah. Right? Very often. As I mentioned before, when you choose your characters, now at Funimation, everybody knows what I just sound like just normally. So now I always try and find things where I have to be younger or older or something different. But it's important to be able to use your natural voice sometimes.
Yeah, I'll second that. I've also had to voice match my colleagues sometimes and do like Kirk Thornton's voice or something just for a couple lines. You had your hand up for a while. Practice, 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 practice. Just practice speaking with the accent that you want to speak with. I'll tell you just a little story. I was doing Resident Evil, and I'd auditioned for it 4 times already. And they called me back and they're like, Dave, we really, really like you. but we need you to come back and audition again, and this time we need you to do it with a Russian accent. The one accent that I'm horrible at.
Oh, no.
And yeah, so
I love Russian
I went and practiced doing a Russian accent, and I got the job. So it's, yeah, it was fantastic, but I still struggle with that accent. But, so if you're from Minnesota and you talk like that, yeah, right, you want to listen to your newscasters and talk how they talk, and just practice it.
Chances are the newscasters, they may have some vowel sounds that are regional, because I've heard that. You know, we travel around the country a lot, we hear the news a lot in different parts of the country. But generally, like the cadence of the speech, that will just be straight. Kind of like when you tell someone, I need to learn a British accent. Well, there's so many, but it's good to just say, go watch BBC News, because they've got a pretty standard going on.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you mentioned before voicebank.net, and you can listen to things from different regions. So pick a region that's not your own, and go, what are actors sounding like down in, you know, Los Angeles or Dallas, and just mimic them. Now, don't make your demo exactly like someone else's. Okay, I'm not telling you to do that. But if you're just trying to work on getting a different accent, it helps to have a script. Oh, what did I find the other day? Shoot, I'm gonna have to look it up. I think it's called IDEA. It's an acronym for something. Because I had to do a Romanian accent for a game, and I'm like, holy crap, Romanian. And so I have a disc, but it wasn't very good, the information it was giving me, so I just Googled something, and I think it's called IDEA, and it's like this, like a database, where some folks have a particular script, like this one paragraph and this one other paragraph, and they have, I mean, Romanian, it's not a very, I thought it was kind of obscure, there were like 20 different real people, real Romanians, in America that have been here for varying numbers of years. Some born here, some, you know, immigrated here. And you listen to them and you can read what it is that they're saying, because it's the same script for every person.
That's really cool.
It's awesome, like every accent you can imagine.
Dude, that's awesome. I've never heard of that. It's called IDEA.
I think, I'm gonna have to look it up. It's in my, what's that called? What's the my history. It's my internet history. Oh, yeah. It's
Okay,
great.
yeah, let me know. Because what I did is I went to YouTube.
Yeah.
And that was my resource on how to, which you can do the same thing. Just mind you, if you go to YouTube, you've got some people, you know, that'll be like, okay, and this is how you do a perfect British accent. Hello, governor! You know, it's a terrible accent. So just be aware that some people are very, very helpful and do terrific accents if you're going to use YouTube. But be aware that some people may think that they do a really great accent, but in fact, don't.
Some directors are helpful. In fact, I just auditioned for a show where there are a variety of different British accents, and unless you've studied that kind of stuff, and I really dig accents and like working on them, but when someone gives you like 4 different ones and you have to just be able to do them, I can't do that. But what was great is the director put notes like, this British accent said, think of such and such actor. This actor, like you need a northern British accent, oh, that's like the 9th Doctor, or that's like Carl Pilkington. Idiot Abroad, you know, that's this, and if you have to be this, it's this actor. Oh, okay. So that helps too. Know where people are from. Just look at Anywho, if there aren't any more questions, we can go to this stuff. Yeah. In anime, it's probably between Haruhi and Winry. They're my favorite. For obvious reasons. Yeah. Okay, so.
Yeah. One more. The ones that I teach, it's 1 of 2. Typically we do a 1-day workshop, so it starts at 8 a.m. and it goes the full day to 6 p.m. So it's a full day. What I do is I bring a casting director with me, and I bring a voice agent with me. And what we'll do is we'll break the group into 2 groups, and one group comes with me in the morning, and then they switch and go with Juan, who is the casting director, in the afternoon. I will cover animation, and Juan will cover commercials and TV and radio. It's really cool. It's very, very in-depth. Everybody gets the chance to work. And it can be a little grueling, but here's the thing, is if you whether you take my class or you take somebody else's class, just because you may not be up on the microphone, still sit, pay attention. Because when I'm up there and I know when I'm working with somebody, I make sure everybody in the audience is still paying attention because I'm going to point out something to this gal, okay, that's going to turn on a light bulb in your head, okay? So I recommend doing that whether you take a course with me or whether you take it from somebody else here local, is to really pay attention even if you're not necessarily working on the microphone, but you're still going to learn a ton of good stuff. Juan is a casting director. He's cast literally thousands of commercials, so he's heard it all and has just incredible insight and knowledge to give them to you. Okay? Okay. All right. Do we have any more questions before we get started? No? One last one.
I don't know. That's just what it's called, is the standard Midwestern accent. So
It's just the way that we're speaking now.
it means no accent.
It means no accent. It's the standard American accent.
Like if you weren't American and had to learn an American accent, that's what you would be learning, the standard American accent, the standard Midwestern American accent.
Good.
Is that Judge Claude Frollo?
Yeah.
Holy cow, that's terrifying. A little bit, but they have a particular vowel sound in Chicago that I always pick up.
Chicago.
When I'm there. Yeah, Chicago. Is that A
Yeah,
sound? Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it is pretty close to that, yes. But I know that in Chicago they say Chicago with that sound, and that's not terribly common anywhere else.
Yeah. I just really the majority of the United States speaks with a standard Midwestern American accent. It's places like New York, we get New York, Brooklyn, you know, those are the accents. Or the South, obviously there's lots of accents throughout the South. You've got Texas, you've got proper Southern, you've got hard R Southern, there's all kinds of different Southern accents. Then there's, you know, people say there's a California accent, but I don't really know.
It's a way of talking.
Dude, really? No.
Sure, I grew up there.
All right, bro. But yeah, I mean, it's just a standard American, the way that we're speaking is
No one's from California.
yeah.
That's the
We all
thing.
moved there.
I am actually from there, y'all. I grew up there.
Where? What part?
San Diego.
Oh, very good. What part of Texas?
Cheap school.
Very good.
Cheaper in Texas.
Where are your guys' minds? Okay. All right. That sounded like something different. Give me a more grossed out 102. One more time. All right.